So
True.
as an educator, one has to first talk about developing a likeliness or the love, the care, the concern, that when you go to the class, you become aap aaye bahar aayi instead of aap aaye bahar gayi, you know. So there
Right.
are different scenario where people need to look forward to, whether I am an asset to the classroom or a liability, you know.
True.
The children, in fact, they murmur among themselves, oh, ma'am aa gayi, oh,
Yeah.
sir aa gaye. That oh means a dislike, of course. So
Right.
wow, oh, arey wow, sir aa gaye, like something that there has to be a delight. So we need to
Yes.
look forward to understanding our positives and negatives, how we are comfortably there in the class. And there's so many things. I have written a book, 200 Wow Teaching Ideas, which is available on Amazon, and it looks after the traits the teacher should have in order to have wow spectrum within the classroom. So I look forward to, in fact, make it a habit rather than simply a choice at times, that the teachers need to be empowering the classroom by their presence, and that too the best of their presence, not just as a casual attitude. They need to look out for a smile all the time, and they need to also look out for happiness quotient within self, and then of course among the students. I recently visited Finland, and I was happy to learn the secret behind the happiness, because that country was declared the fifth time most happy nation among
Right.
all globally. So I asked the teacher there, and she mentioned that the children are happy because I am happy, and that says it all. So
Welcome to another episode of Tea with a Teacher podcast, where inspiring teachers share their stories and journey of success. In today's episode, we have someone with many hats on his head. He is a versatile writer, a trainer, and a leader. He has been awarded with Presidential Award by our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He is presently principal at Kunwar Global School. I welcome you, Dr. Dheeraj Mehrotra. Welcome to the show, sir.
thank you so very much. My pleasure.
Well, to start with, you have a lot of hats on your head, and you are a versatile writer and author, and you have done a lot of things. You have also your name in the Limca Book of Records. To start with, why don't you tell us about how you started your journey as an author, while writing books, and also how did you start your career in teaching? How did you find your passion in teaching, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Well, I took teaching as a part of my part-time assignment while I was doing my graduation. And it came by surprise, of course, because I was through this along with graduation that time long back in 80s, early 90s, in fact, when I joined a computer diploma course along with my graduation, and there came the offer by one of the vendors who were running a school project in one of the schools. So that is how teaching computers was a craze that time, and learning computers was equally a better craze. So it was in the midst of my completion of the course that I got an offer to teach in a school where the project was going on. And with the march of time, I uh, practiced teaching computer science. And I remember I was floating in with WordStar, Lotus, DBase, all yesteryear's learning of computers, including languages like BASIC, COBOL, Fortran. And I do remember as a teacher, I used to teach that as a part of a curriculum for the Council for the Indian School Certificate Examinations. That's for ICSE and ISC both. And it was a pleasure. It was indeed something like which I took it as a passion with the march of time. I authored books. In fact, I authored test papers initially because there was no book and no material to teach and learn from for the students that time for
Yeah,
ICSE. I authored and published myself, and it was something like an entrepreneur. I became a publisher, a writer, published on my own, even used to sell my books, sending them all across the country in ICC schools. And along with my teaching, it went through. But with the march of time, uh, I gave my publication to West Chand and Company.
that's
It was
good.
something around 97, 98, yeah. And ever since, I'm an author to them for my books for class 1 to 12. And in addition, of course, I have authored books related to school management, teacher training, and other issues related to teachers' work life and quality education. Well, in the process, of course, I nurtured my teaching skills and came to with some innovations, creativity in action. And in 2005, I was honored by the President of India for being one of the best teachers recommended by the Council for the Indian School Certificate Examinations, CISC, that is. And yes, as you said, I was also featured in the Limca Book of Records and the India Book of Records for being the only Indian to develop 150 educational apps, and that too free of cost for the educators, students, and the parents. In addition, I've also worked for Udemy courses. I'm an instructor to over 450 Udemy courses related to students, teachers,
Wow,
and parents, and catering to over, I think, 5 lakh students. They are free courses and they relate to general digital content. And
yeah,
of course, it was pre pandemic, and it was utilized by students from around 140 plus countries world over. So I believe learning to learn should be a priority rather than an occasional occurrence. And I always tell this to my teachers, my students, my parents, and in that vicinity, I presently I'm engaged as a principal at Kunwar Global School, which is one of the prime schools in Lucknow, and we believe in developing passion among students through creativity and, of course, innovation and the technology at hand.
that's amazing. Well, you
Yeah.
have built so many mobile applications. You have, created Udemy courses. You have trained teachers. You give leadership training to school principals as well. So you should definitely tell us how do you manage your time.
Well, I just don't plan anything. Of course, my planning goes with the work in action. I believe in working the talk rather than walking the talk and talking the talk. And that's my preference. I prefer things when I'm dedicated as a principal. I have to manage the school, I have to manage the admissions, I have to manage the classrooms, and of course, satisfaction from the side of the parents and all the other stakeholders. Similarly, one has to draft the course of action and follow that, try to implement. We have 24 hours with us, and out of these
Right.
24 hours, 7 to 8 hours is ideally, we require to have a proper sleep. And then again, you still have time with you and for your passion. So I think if people have that attitude of doing something, you can even explore 100 hours out of 24 hours. And yes, plan it the perfect way and streamline your project rather than just drafting it on paper and finding the right opportunity to balance it. I think it is high time for all of us to be a multifarious personality and conduct multiprocessing
That's true.
with the reference of doing things. And in the field of technology today, we are always at multiple references. We have various devices which actually tells us that how to be multifarious and engaged at different places at the same time. So that's the priority and that's the need of the hour. That's what people say, become street smart and execute the task which is required in the best of the possible ways. So just be a motivator for yourself, get inspired from different great people who are there before us. And for
Have
me, the role
mentors.
model is our prime. Yes, the for me the role model is of course our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, who executes the task, not only plans it. So he believes in working the talk, and that too
Definitely.
I follow the same. Thank you.
That's amazing. Well, there is a saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none. But I listened to Simon Sinek the other day and he gave a full expression of it. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one. So you actually know everything, so you can implement those things. And when you are jack of all trades, you can be a part of decision making in different departments in an organization as well, if we look at from that perspective.
Yeah,
So that's amazing. So
very
as a
true. Yeah.
trainer, what
So
skill or personality do you think principal of this era should upskill themselves with to manage more efficiently and deliver better results of the students?
see, first of all, we need to go down to their level of understanding. And every child needs attention these days. Not only attention, but recognition. So if you want to be a teacher, you need to make sure that the child likes your presence in the classroom, because the child will definitely dislike the subject if he doesn't like the teacher. So
True.
as an educator, one has to first talk about developing a likeliness or the love, the care, the concern, that when you go to the class, you become aap aaye bahar aayi instead of aap aaye bahar gayi, you know. So
Right.
there are different scenario where people need to look forward to, whether I am an asset to the classroom or a liability,
True.
people, the children, in fact, they murmur among themselves, oh, ma'am aa gayi,
Yeah.
oh, sir aa gaye. That oh means a dislike, of course. So
Right.
wow, oh, are wow, sir aa gaye, like something that there has to be a delight. So we need
Yes.
to look forward to understanding our positives and negatives, how we are comfortably there in the class. And there's so many things. I have written a book, 200 wow teaching ideas, which is available on Amazon, and it looks after the traits the teacher should have in order to have wow spectrum within the classroom. So I look forward to, in fact, make it a habit rather than simply a choice at times, that the teachers need to be empowering the classroom by their presence, and that too the best of their presence, not just as a casual attitude. They need to look out for a smile all the time, and they need to also look out for happiness quotient within self, and then of course among the students. I recently visited Finland, and I was happy to learn the secret behind the happiness, because that country was declared the fifth time most happy nation among
Right.
all globally. So I asked the teacher there, and she mentioned that the children are happy because I am happy. And that says it all. So as an educator, we need to make sure that the happiness has to be reverberated, reflected, and brought forward to the best. And then also we need to recognize the talents, and above all the individuals who are there in the classroom, by praising them in public and criticizing only when required in private.
That's true. The teachers need to build a personality, a positive attitude in themselves. So when they enter the classroom with the positive energy, they create an excitement in the students. So they also like the teacher. And the teacher is not is a resource person. The knowledge is everywhere. Why we have teachers in the classroom is to build a connection, to make the classroom more effective, the learning more effective. So the teachers need to build a personality of themselves to make the classroom more effective. Amazing. So with your experience of schools in Finland, what do you think, what our schools in India can adopt from schools in Finland to make classrooms happy place, and also, increase the standards of education in our schools?
Well, visiting the country was a delight and a great learning. We have heard a lot about the country becoming the Makkah and the Medina for the educators, in fact, and I could see that in action. When I visited the school, I visited one private school. That's the only private school in Finland, and the other schools, so the two schools, which were government schools. And both the places we found that the trust factor is very much there. They believe in the trust and they know their work, they know their policies, and the truth which prevails among them is that they know what they have to do. They know their duties. The children bring the mobile phone. There is a mobile stand in the classroom, and they put it there straight away. And they're feeling bored out of that curriculum or the delivery by the teacher, they go and just operate the phone and work for some time, and then they can even play. They can go to any class. They can go to move around. They can play cards. They can, like it's freedom. But at the same time, the children need to be very particular about what they're there for. There is no one
Right.
to question them. Why? Because they know what they're doing is right or wrong, and they try to implement the best of their policies and the expectations. I asked them whether you have to yell out and shout. They said never it is, because we just go, and I could see that the children were uh, counseled and briefed with even, there was an incident when the teacher was sitting on her this thing, bending down and explaining the maths. You can just imagine teacher coming down and sitting on the floor, through the knees there, and just helping out the child to solve the maths question. So this was the type of
Amazing.
an involvement which was there in the classroom, and the children were also excited about it. They were happy, and when we interacted, they were a part of the communication. Randomly, their questions, their names were put to question, and then they used to come out. And even while we are moving around, there was a distraction. They looked at their content and the digital screen where they were talking about, they were learning about. So any type of distraction was not also a distraction for them, because they were toast to the learning they were getting. And also, there was no uniform as such. Children were there, casual dresses, and they were comfortable. The teachers were also given that freedom to teach anything. There was no pressure of framing copies or corrections, anything, because they knew what they're doing is after understanding the concept.
Right.
So that was the process, and there were tools, digital tools available, and the children were using all their iPads and phones around with the spectrum of utilizing it to the best of their learning and exploring it. So there was a completely comfortable environment there. They knew when to go for food, they knew when to go for the next period, and they even knew what to study and how to respond to the queries in the classroom. So the excellence we could find in action. And I don't say that we don't have that in India. We do have it. But looking at from that point of view, the freedom was on trust factor, that
Right.
the truthness, that yes, they will accept if they have done something wrong. And that acceptance was the prized notion for the rest of the students.
That's true. It's about creating a sense of responsibility in the teachers and also in the
Very
students,
true.
creating that mindset, and at the same time giving them the freedom. If they have the sense of responsibility, they will take the responsibility of that freedom and make use of all the resources that are given to them, right? So,
Very
well,
true.
that's
Very true.
amazing
Yeah.
that they are putting the policies in implementation. They know how to implement on the policies, the frameworks that they are given in Finland. And, in the new government in India, government has also introduced NEP 2020, National Curriculum Framework, National Credit Framework is also introduced. So how will these policies be implemented? How can schools adopt these policies and frameworks without affecting the learning of the students? Because oftentimes when policies are being implemented, it is the responsibility of the teachers to get all the work done. So at the same time, the learning of teachers is learning of students is also affected. We have seen this in the higher education or undergraduate colleges, that teachers complain that because there is an audit coming in, we are given so many responsibilities and we are not able to focus on teaching in the classroom. So how can we implement the policy at the same time not affecting the learning of the students in the classroom?
NEP has been initiated by many state governments, and of late, we did hear about Mr. Pradhan talking about implementing it in higher education for the academic session as well. And I think many states are initiating the implementation from the primary education in the Bal Vikas, or that initiation which is being implemented and planned. Of course, it's going to be a challenging step, and I believe when they are talking about the inception, they are also figuring out about the assessment of the students, the equity factor, the quality of learning, and also the accountability. So these are the four pillars of NEP which have to be taken care of. And the implementation, of course, it's being there. And just recently, we got a PDF file being circulated on the prized notion of how best we are going to be implementing it in the schools, and what way is the new education policy is going to increase the ratio for preschool to secondary level. Probably by 2030, that is what they are aiming at, that that particular inception is going to be
Right.
implemented. But as a matter of fact, yes, it is not going to be an easy task. And the universalization of education, that is what is targeted out of this, will be taken from preschool to secondary in a big way, and it
Right.
outline the usefulness. And there are many, many aspects to it. Well, and of course, the quality education is the priority here, which intercepts with the students who are actually leaving the country for higher education. So probably tie-ups with IITs and the IIMs specifically for the teacher education is a novel step. And I believe that's going to house it better of preferences. So we,
Definitely.
yeah, something positive on that ground as well.
Definitely, there is going to be a lot of benefit from these policies when they are implemented in the education system. And as you said, that students are going for higher education, for higher education or the graduation abroad and in IIT and IIMs. So that is a very big thing for a student life. And mostly, as we know in India, parents take the decision for their higher education. And what advice would you give to parents while they choose a career for their child? Because sometimes they choose a profession that they think is right for the student, but the student has something else to follow, some other passion to follow. So, what advice would you give for parents while they are choosing their career for their child?
Well, as far as this parenting is concerned, I'm very sure every parent is excited about the delivery and the career aspects. But with the march of time, I think it is high time for all the parents also to revisit on the availability of these as options. And now NEP allows so many subject combinations. So with that, there shall be so many career options available in particular, even if after completing the class 10th or the 12th exams. So with a particular course subject, with a particular combination available, I think there's shall be more options available, which will actually be allowing the children to take multiple options and multiple career options. The creativity will also highlight itself about the interest. So my request to the parents would be that don't go by the yesteryears of career options. Get for the interest of the children who are there with, and try to see that the child is interested in some creativity. We can always search for the creative career option with the march of time, rather than just signaling him that, see, buddy, I'm a writer, so you need to be taking that stream, or your uncle is a lawyer, so go for NLU. I'm sorry, this should not happen. We need to have a
Right.
revisit on the rest of the children, and then, of course, go ahead with that.
Right. They should be given the freedom to choose their career. They should be given the option to explore other professions as well. Not just because someone's success in their profession cannot be yours. They succeeded, that's why they give the advice. They are, you should opt in for this profession. They should be given the chance to explore. Well, Dr. Dheeraj, you have given so many inputs today in education of your life, of your experience in Finland. And I think our listeners, who are mostly teachers and principals, are going to have a lot of takeaways from this podcast. Thank you so much, Dr. Dheeraj, for sharing your beautiful journey with us.
My pleasure, and take care. God bless you.
Thank you. Well, don't forget to subscribe to our channel,
Thank
because
you.
we will soon be back with another episode of Tea with a Teacher podcast only for you.
Jungle.